Crime is an intentional, harmful act, but early societies rarely looked for motives, punishing these offenses simply as moral sins. In the 18th century, a reform movement led by Cesare Beccaria questioned whether blind retribution actually prevented future offenses. He argued for strict standardization, where the punishment matches the severity of the harm caused to society rather than the offender's intent. This logical shift in how we hold people accountable birthed a new science, criminology. It moved the focus from the act itself to the underlying causes. Modern criminology is a vast field. To decode a suspect's motive, investigators rely on biology, psychology, economics, and sociology. To understand why a crime happens, we have to zoom out, scaling from the microscopic impulses of the brain to the macrostructures of global society. Our investigation starts at the micro level, looking entirely inside the physical body of the offender to find the foundational urge. Invisible biological factors like heredity, hormone imbalances, and neurological brain activity lay the physical groundwork for aberrant behavior. This physical vulnerability is often compounded by psychopathology, where unconscious personality factors entirely bypass rational thought and warp social behavior. These internal vulnerabilities connect to raw emotional triggers. Latent feelings of greed, anger, and pride act as the spark, igniting the conscious urge to break the law. A criminal act is rarely a purely calculated choice. Instead, it frequently originates as a biological or psychological reaction to internal pressures that the offender can barely even control. Expanding the scope to the interpersonal level, we find that a person's immediate physical environment and daily social interactions exert immense pressure. Social process criminology clearly shows that small group interactions and peer pressure shape youth behavior, often normalizing vices until they become routine. Family backgrounds are also a factor. When economic opportunities or education are missing, illicit survival tactics often replace legal employment out of necessity. Chemical dependency acts as an incredibly intense catalyst. Severe drug abuse physically hijacks the brain of an otherwise law-abiding citizen. Personal boundaries can be fragile, easily overridden by the survival demands of a social circle or the physical pull of addiction. At the macro level, we look at the global scale, where massive economic structures and broad societal expectations drive behavior. Today's modern culture creates a very unique psychological pressure by explicitly equating a person's human worth with their overall financial wealth. This can lead to an economic breaking point. When poverty blocks honest avenues, the growing wealth gap pushes citizens toward crime for survival. This instability scales upward with political violence and fanaticism, normalizing extreme acts and providing weapons to vulnerable youth. Systemic injustice also plays a role. When citizens feel cheated by a corrupt system, crime can be perceived as an act of vigilante rebellion. At this highest level of organization, the data suggests that widespread crime reflects these larger structural failures alongside individual choices. A crime is the tragic intersection of microscopic biological triggers, interpersonal vulnerabilities, and macroscopic societal failures. Criminologists apply this multidisciplinary data to engineer predictive analytics and behavioral interventions that target the roots of criminal conduct. This scientific data actively reshapes the law. The Model Penal Code, for instance, became a milestone by formally factoring mental elements into criminal liability. We have shifted away from the 18th century focus on retribution. The modern priority is deterrence and prevention through insight. Stopping crime effectively requires repairing the foundational cracks of poverty, addiction, and injustice before a citizen falls through them.